Hey everybody, welcome to the Amonkhet spoiler recap for April 10th. We are into the second week, the final week of Amonkhet spoilers. I guess technically third week because we got so many in the pre-week. Anyways, there were, I believe, 10-ish cards revealed today. As expected, slightly less, so I do think that we'll see probably fewer this week. And then, of course, the big dump on Friday and the first Amonkhet set review that day. So let's take a look at the first card. Up first is Unburden. Unburden is 1 black for a sorcery at common. Target player discards 2 cards. Cycling 2 generic mana. So it's Mind Rot, a little bit harder to cast, which is always kind of playable in sealed and not ever really playable in draft unless you're super desperate. Cycling is nice, it tacks onto it. I think a lot of people are going to get a bit too pulled into cycling. They'll say, you know, this is a Mind Rot when I need it, and it's a different card when I don't. And that is better than a Mind Rot, yes, but you could also play a real card instead of this. I think this is still an, oh man, I need a playable, as opposed to somehow legitimately actually playable as opposed to Mind Rot. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Who knows? That was also our only common for today. We did get 2 uncommons, however. We got to see Censor. Censor is 1 and a blue for an instant at uncommon. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 generic mana. Cycling for a single blue. Again, just like Unburden, this is Force Spike, except it actually costs an extra mana. At least Unburden only cost different mana as opposed to more. But you can cycle it. So, you know, when this is no longer terribly useful, you can throw it away and get a better card. However, Force Spike is rarely useful. You know, this is going to be real good on turn 2, 3, 4 maybe, and then it's going to get much worse. The later the game goes, the worse this gets. Yeah, maybe they have 7 mana and they cast a 7-drop and you get them. But that is a rare case. The much more common case is this card does literally nothing. But you can cycle it. You can throw it away and get a new card, but you could also just play a different card. So my prediction is we're not going to see this being terribly playable. Maybe if you're desperate for cycling cards for some of the Cycling Matters cards, sure, I guess. But we'll see how those decks actually come together. The other uncommon we got to see today was a split card, Reduce to Rubble. Reduces 2 and a blue for an instant at uncommon. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3 generic mana. It's Mana Leak for 1 extra mana. Rubble is a sorcery for 2 and a red with Aftermath, of course. Up to 3 target lands don't untap during their controller's next untap step. The Stensia Innkeeper ability is the first time that we really kind of saw that on a card. It's attempting to be kind of Red's new mechanic. We saw it, of course, with Chandra's Outrage as well. Chandra's Outrage? Yeah, Chandra's Outrage. Anyways, I like this card way more than I should. I want a tempo deck. I miss the days where tempo was a thing. We've had so much aggro over the past almost year of limited formats that this is just right up my alley. I don't like that I have to pay 1 extra mana for a Mana Leak, but the fact that I draw a card that is next turn also going to really kind of screw up my opponent's plans is exactly the way that I love playing. I love playing tempo decks. Please let one exist in this format, and I will play this card every day. As expected, we saw a lot more rares this week. The first rare we've seen was Pull from Tomorrow. Pull from Tomorrow is X blue for an instant at rare. Draw X cards, then discard a card. So it's build your own Think Twice or Divination or I guess Inspiration technically because it's instant speed. Yeah, the fact that you have to discard a card makes this a little bit worse, but it's still good. Boy, I'm going to have to play with this to figure out kind of where the sweet spot is. Obviously, being instant is great because you could just pass the turn holding up your counterspell, your removal, or whatever, and then at the end of the turn, dump 7 mana into this. Draw 5, discard 1 when I wasn't going to do anything anyways? That sounds pretty good. Ultimately, I think this card's going to be fantastic. I think the trick is going to be the speed of the format. The less mana you pump into this, the less happy I am with this spell. But maybe this even helps Control be a thing in Standard again. This reminds me just a little bit of Sphinx's Revelation. Obviously, you're not gaining life, but still, instant speed X card draw. That can be a thing. I'm going to keep a very close eye on this. I want blue to come back in force as a really good controlling tempo-y color. So keeping my eye on it. Honored Hydra is up next. It's 5 and a green for a creature Snake Hydra at rare. It's a 6/6 with trample. And that's it until the second ability. So 6 mana for 6/6 is where the vanilla test usually falls off. 2/2s for 2, usually fantastic. 3/3s for 3, awesome. 6/6s for 6 is the point where it starts to just become diminishing returns. It takes so long and it doesn't do anything and it gets chump blocked for days and it can get killed easily and you wasted all this mana. Getting trampled completely negates that because this can't be chump blocked forever. It will still very quickly kill your opponent. But it does have a second ability, as I said. It has Embalm for 3 and a green. It's one of, I believe, the only that we've seen so far Embalm creatures that are cheaper on the first half. So you could actually discard this on turn 1, 2, 3, cast it on turn 4, and you've got yourself a 6/6 trample for 4, and that is crazy. This looks really fun. Again, glad it's at rare. I had my freak out initially with the Exemplar of Strength and etc., but at least a lot of the crazy green has been at rare. I'm excited to give this a try, especially in some sort of like black-green self-mill. We also saw Liliana's Mastery. Liliana's Mastery is 3 black for an enchantment at rare. Zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. When Liliana's Mastery enters the battlefield, create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. It's an anthem for zombies that also makes a pair of zombies. You know, it's entirely going to matter for limited anyways if black-white Embalm Zombie.deck is a thing. I'm a little bit iffy on Embalm.deck just because it's going to be difficult to get the zombies out, I think. You're going to have to play them, have them killed, and then cast them for generally more than you had to pay for it the first time. I don't think you're going to flood the board with embalmed tokens. That being said, do not lose sight of the fact that this is a 6/6 for 5. This is 2 3/3 zombies for 5 mana, and that's really good right there. Obviously, it's an amazing build around. You can just grab all those zombies anyways. I'm going to try this out the first time I see it for sure. But I'm really curious how Embalm.deck is going to work. We did get a split rare card today. We got Never to Return. Never is 1 black for a sorcery at rare. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Return is 3 and a black for a sorcery with Aftermath. Exile target card from a graveyard. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Yes, I know it's not instant speed, it's sorcery speed. Let's all get angry. But realistically, it would be impossible for this to be printed as is cost-wise and be instant. It makes it just utterly better than Hero's Downfall. Do not think that these cards are weak just because each half is weak. Always remember the first half draws you the second half. It cantrips for a very specific card. That is significantly more powerful than just what the top half says. On the Hero's Downfall front, I have a feeling that they're not going to reprint that card until the Planeswalker dies. And then they will reprint it for the Planeswalker's death. So it makes me wonder if maybe it is going to show up in Hour of Devastation. So we'll have to see. Anyways, this is straight up unconditional removal. The Planeswalker part does not matter for limited, of course. But it's unconditional sorcery speed, cheap in the modern era removal. So I'm all in on this for limited. Return, it's a good bonus. You know, it's a free card attached to an utterly first pickable top tier removal spell. So that's fine, but I'm not as excited about that half. I'm never going to happily discard this in order to play Return. Our final rare is another legendary and another lord, in fact. We have Neheb the Worthy. Neheb the Worthy is 1 black-red for a legendary creature Minotaur Warrior at rare. It's a 2/2. It has first strike. Other Minotaurs you control have first strike. As long as you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, which I've seen a suggestion of calling it Heckbent, like Hellbent, which is no cards in hand, but this is not quite Hell, so it's more like Heckbent. Anyways, if you are Heckbent, Minotaurs you control get +2/+0, so it's like a double power, no toughness lord. Whenever Neheb the Worthy deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card, so you get closer to Heckbent, and you get your opponent to throw away something. Now, we've seen some Minotaurs spoiled so far. We'll have to see how many more we get to see if this is really limited playable or not. As a 3-mana 2/2 first strike, it's okay. And if you do get to 1 or fewer cards, then it becomes a 4/2 first strike, which is pretty nice. But 4/2 first strikes have historically been significantly worse than they look. But, you know, that's in formats with shock and things like that. But, you know, we've got Magma Spray. We have ways of dealing with it. So I wouldn't be all in on this as a 4/2 first strike equaling invincible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super excited for this, for limited anyways. Obviously, it has Commander stuff going on there. I believe this is probably the first Legendary Minotaur. Huge implications there, but limited, it doesn't look that exciting to me. We did get 2 Mythics today. We got Vizier of the Menagerie. Vizier of the Menagerie is 3 and a green for a creature Naga Cleric at Mythic. It's a 3/4. You may look at the top card of your library. And then in parentheses, you can do this at any time. It's not a trigger. It's not an activated ability. It's just a thing you can do whenever you want. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. This looks really cool. I'm really excited to give this a try and go deep on it. However, I'm fully aware that it's going to be incredibly dangerous to, quote unquote, go deep on this. You know, don't pick this and then pick every creature of every color that looks amazing, because you still have to draw and play this guy first. Otherwise, those cards are just going to be dead in your hand. So I'm probably going to go deep on it at some point if I do open it, but I know it's going to be wrong. That being said, it's a 3/4 for 4 that virtually increases your hand size, and even in, you know, a boring, safe 2-color deck, you're still going to get to cast a bunch of creatures that you normally wouldn't have been able to, you know, off the top of your deck without having drawn them yet. So I'm very excited by this. This looks fantastic. I'm glad it's Mythic, but looks super fun. I'd love to give this a try in other formats. Yeah, looks great. Finally, it took a while, but we've got another god. We have Oketra the True. Oketra the True is 3 and a white for a legendary creature god at Mythic. She's a 3/6. She has double strike, which I guessed wrong. I predicted she would have first strike, but she has double strike and indestructible. Oketra the True can't attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures. That is 100% what I predicted. 3 and a white. Create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Also what I predicted. I didn't guess on the vigilance thing, and I didn't guess the cost, but I predicted that Oketra would be kind of battalion to attack and that she would make creatures to attack. My predictions for the Black God is that it will require a creature to have died this turn, and its ability will be sack a creature, gain something, draw a card, or gain life, or something like that. That's my prediction for the Black God. The Green God, I believe, is going to be total power and toughness amongst other creatures you control. That's a very important word. Otherwise, it would count itself, because it is a creature. It's just pacified. And its ability, I hope, will be a temporary buff, +2/+2 till end of turn or something like that. But I have a feeling that it might be counters, because it's a green card, and green cards have to be overpowered. Anyways, Oketra looks great. 4 mana, 3/6, double strike, indestructible. You do have to have 3 creatures online. I can see that being a bit of a problem in limited, of course. We're almost always talking about limited on this channel. Keep that in mind. I can see that being a problem, you know, if you're a little bit behind, you don't quite have a board state or a good board state, casting this doesn't do anything, and then next turn you can get a 1/1. You're probably not going to get 2 if it's that late and you're that much in trouble. So I can see her being slightly not amazing when you're behind. She'll still be good. She's still going to generate a chump blocker every turn, or maybe 2, depending on how late it is. But if you can get her online, I think she's going to be fantastic. She's going to block like a champ, and then you just keep pumping out 1/1s or playing real creatures if you have them in hand, and she never goes offline. Yeah, Oketra looks fantastic. Super excited to play her. I think she's my favorite of the 3 we've seen so far. Hazoret definitely challenges her, and as cool as Kefnet is, I just don't see turning him on in an average limited match. So, you know. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today's recap. We have 3 days left of recaps, because there will be no recap Friday. There will be the white full card-by-card set review, so make sure you stay tuned for that. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know in the comment section down below, or find me on Twitter at @TheManaLeek. That's Leek, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me at facebook.com/TheManaLeek, twitch.tv/TheManaLeek, and patreon.com/TheManaLeek if you want to become a backer there. As always, click that thumbs up button if you like the content. It really helps with the discoverability of my content. It gets new viewers, which grows the channel, which means more content, etc., etc., etc. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow.